Monster Squad right there. And I just texted Jason and told him to call in. So let's give him a quick second. Oh, here he is now. So here's Jason from the Havoc.
2.
How you doing, Jason? This is Andrew on Pogo City Radio.
Hey, Andrew, I'm doing great. How are you today, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for calling in. We appreciate it.
No problem, man. Happy to be a part of the show.
Yeah. Well, I'm real happy that you guys messaged me and said that the new single's finally ready. Been a while, huh? 16 years?
Yeah, man. It's crazy how time flies. It doesn't necessarily feel like it's been that long, but it definitely has been.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I have 2 kids now, and I'm in my 30s, and I was in high school when I started listening to you guys. So time has definitely flown, I feel like. It's kind of like a time warp. So what's been going on? I did hear that, what was up with Spades and Blades? Were you part of that while that was going on?
Yes, and actually that is still going on. That band was formed by myself and the 2 other founding members of the Havoc, Justin and Josiah. Justin and I still play in that project together. Josiah left that project, I think it was about 5 years ago or so at this point. And whenever we decided to start getting the Havoc going again, he wanted to be a part of the fold. So we said, all right, and just started working on stuff from there.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So you guys wrapped it up, what, in 2006 initially? You guys had your last show, what, in Southgate, California?
That's correct.
Awesome. So let's go back to the beginning, though. I first came across you guys before your album came out on Punkcore Records, but see, like I said, I was in high school in 2003, so I was at punkcore.com like every single day. So as soon as they announced that a new album was going to come out, I ran and bought your first 7-inch real quick. I don't remember what it was called. It was a picture of you guys and the razor blade on the top.
Yeah, that 7-inch was called Who's Gonna Die?
That's it, yeah, and it had a picture of Uncle Scam in the fold-out jacket with the Exxon pin and everything. I remember that a lot. I remember liking that. Yes. But, yeah, so how did you guys – now, you guys released that on your own, correct?
We sure did.
And how did you guys put that together?
So when we started the band, we really had a very ambitious – drive, and the first thing that we wanted to do was record some songs, put out a 7-inch, and get on the road with it. And so we had a buddy that had a recording studio that Justin knew through one of his previous bands, I think, and so we reached out to him about recording, and man, I don't even remember exactly how long we were together before we tracked that first 7-inch, but I don't think we were a band even 6 months yet. So it kind of went really fast from the point that we formed the band to recording that 7-inch and then releasing it, which we had that pressed through Pirates Press, not on their label, just through their pressing plant. And then shortly after that, I mean, we had summer dates already booked, and we went out on this crazy summer tour that I think was like 6 weeks or 7 weeks or something, and we literally broke down every single day, like from on the beginning of that tour, like every state from California to Florida, we broke down. It was insane.
Well, it wouldn't be a punk rock tour any other way. The van always has to break, or it's not a tour in punk rock, you know?
Exactly, but you know what? It was all worth it because doing all of that stuff on our own, it definitely spoke to Dave over at Punkcore, and you know, he was looking for bands that were hungry, and we were definitely one of those bands. So it worked out in our favor.
Yeah, totally. So what he just found, like basically your 7-inch came across you guys and said, "Hey, let's put out an LP." Like, what happened exactly?
So after we put out that first 7-inch, we ran into Mike Virus at some show this is all kind of fuzzy because it was so long ago, but I don't remember what show we ran into him at, but I think we gave him a copy of the 7-inch at that show. And when we when we did that, we also put in burned CDs in the 7-inch, so that way you could listen to it in your car or whatever. And he ended up calling us like that same night and said, "Hey, I'm putting together a show in San Diego with my new band, Cheap Sex, and The Virus is going to be coming through on tour, and I'd like you guys to play the show." So we said, yeah, that'd be great. And at that show, we met some of the guys from The Virus and gave them a copy of the 7-inch, and they had said that they would take it back to Jake of Charge, because their first record came out on Charged, and they said, we'll give it to him and see what he thinks. Maybe you guys can release a record on Charged and then graduate to Punkcore.
Yeah, I felt like a lot. That was like, it was like Charged was like junior high, and then Punkcore was high school. Exactly. I always felt like that.
Yeah. So that was our same impression, and that's kind of what we were thinking might happen. And then we were on tour months later, and if I am remembering this correctly, we're on a winter tour, and we were actually at my parents' house on a stop there in Oklahoma, and I got this email from Punkcore Records, and they were saying, "Hey, we got your 7-inch from the Virus guys, and we like what you guys are doing. We're curious about what else the band is up to, and would you mind reaching out to us?" So I thought it was a joke at first.
You were like, this isn't real.
I thought somebody was punking us, but it turned out to be legit. So we ended up sending Punkcore a package, and it was like one of everything that we had from our merch table. And when they got it, Dave, his words to me, whenever we got on a phone call, he was like, "Man, I love this because it's like a band in a box. Everything that you could want from a punk band was in that box." And it was just he said it was just kind of a no-brainer for him to want to work with us. And, a lot of that, we have to give credit to Justin, because he and his brother have a screen printing shop, and they've been doing that ever since they were in high school. And so the Havoc, we had such a really strong emphasis on merchandise right from the get-go. So being able to have all of that to send to Punkcore, that credit for that just really goes to Justin.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. I mean, I just recently, me and my friends just started another project during the whole Corona thing, and that's me, man. I'm trying to roll everything out, get it moving, hit the ground running, you know what I mean? It's like we just started. We've all known each other for a long time, but we're playing together, we've been playing together for years. Everything sounds great, and I feel like it's easier than ever to really get your own stuff out there, and I have just been waiting for the right group of guys who are ready to take off running, and I think I got them now. And speaking of taking off running, are you guys up full scale running again now for good?
Yeah, so you're right, man. In this day and age, it is a lot easier to get things off the ground and going, which is awesome, but I also feel like it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it dilutes everything almost.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the internet, we have to thank for that. I mean, it's just insane with how things have developed over the last couple of decades. We are fully up and running, but we've had some obstacles in our way. Obviously, the whole COVID pandemic has really just, it's just thrown everybody through a loop.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
And we're no exception to that. And then also, it's kind of funny, when I thought about starting this project up again, I had actually left California and moved back to Oklahoma because I've been in Los Angeles for 18 years, and I just was at a point where I was ready to kind of go back home and spend more time with my family. My parents are getting older. And so anyway, when I left California, I really had no thought whatsoever about resuming the Havoc. But when I got back to Oklahoma, I was just kind of, exploring my roots. And it made me think a lot about my friendship with Justin. He's my best friend. He has been since the late 90s. And really what kind of started this was I wanted to write a song about our friendship. And I felt like the Havoc was just kind of the right vehicle to do that. Lyrically, it just made more sense to do it with that type of music. And so the first song that I wrote for this comeback was about he and I. And when I sent it to him, he was like, "Man, do you think we should start this back up? Should we put this out there?" And I was like, "I don't know, man. I mean, we could explore it and see what happens." And so that's what that first teaser that we dropped on New Year's Day 2020, that was what that was about. We just kind of wanted to see what the reaction would be. And it definitely surprised us. I mean, there was a lot of people that reacted to that, just that little clip. And we said, okay, well, that's a good sign. Maybe we really should consider doing this. And, it's just been one step at a time since then. But, yeah, we're firing on all cylinders, even though we don't all live in the same state anymore.
Well, yeah. So why don't we talk about the comp a little? So now did I see the businesses logo on there? I was like, how is the business on there? Who's all on this comp?
Yeah, the business is on there, which was kind of like one of the big selling points for us when we got contacted by that label. We saw some of the other bands that were going to be a part of it, and we thought, oh, man, well, this is great because there's some really iconic bands that are going to be on this, but then there's also some of these like diehard street punk bands that are really good, that have kind of been going at it for a while now. And then there's a lot of younger up and coming bands and bands from all over the world, and we thought, man, that would just be really cool to be a part of that. But the business is definitely one of those bands that kind of raised our eyebrows because we love that band. We have for a very long time. So we thought this would be really cool to be involved with.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's definitely a nice little entrance to make after being gone for 16 years. So what's on the horizon after the comp? Are you guys, do you got anything lined up for a 7-inch or an LP or wait and see?
So there's some stuff in the works, nothing that I can confirm just yet, but I'll just say that we have been hard at work to prepare for whatever is going to be the end result.
Cool, good. Glad you guys are still doing it and still enjoying it. So I told you yesterday, I always like to ask people when they come on the show really about their roots in getting into the scene. So I always figured you were from California, but you've said quite a few times you're from Indiana. So why don't you take us way back to the beginning? How did you end up getting into punk in general?
So, yeah, actually, I'm from Oklahoma, not Indiana,
oh, my bad.
Although I've got nothing against Indiana. But man, my roots kind of started like with, most kids from the mid to late 90s. MTV was a huge thing at that time. And I have a sister that's 10 years older than I am. So when I was a little kid, I'm coming home like from preschool and my sister's watching MTV. Yeah. And so
Beavis
as a result, I was watching MTV. Yeah. Of course, Beavis and Butthead, when that came out,
Ball.
Yeah, I watched it all the time, man.
Yeah, Headbangers Ball, all the good
Ball,
stuff.
All that, man.
Yeah. I was there.
Yeah. So that was kind of my introduction into a lot of bands. although I had been a fan of music in general, I mean, since I was a little kid. I mean, I grew up in a family that listened to all types of different music. But when I got to about the age of 12 is when I started discovering some punk bands. And, you know, at that time, a lot of bands that were at the forefront were like Rancid and Green Day, you know, because they had that heavy rotation on MTV and they were being played on the radio.
The Wolves era and all that, yeah.
Exactly. And that was definitely an album that caught my attention just from, you know, the cover of it. I thought, wow, this is a really cool looking. I was just going to say that.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
And then, of course, they have music videos out, and I think the first one I saw for them was probably Ruby Soho.
Of course.
And I liked that song. I thought the band looked really cool and whatever. And, you know, there's just something about the energy of that music, and then, of course, the image. It's just rooted in rebellion and being an outcast, and I just identified with that. And then from there, you know, it's like everybody else that gets into this music. It's like you start with something that's kind of surface level, and then you start digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And so my experience was no different. You know, once I started discovering bands like The Exploited and the Sex Pistols and GBH and Discharge and you know, started really getting into that stuff, and then, you know, trying to dig deeper and coming across bands like Broken Bones and Skeptics, and, you know, the list goes on and on. But I think it was one of those things where I was always very open to different styles of music, not just punk rock, but punk rock was kind of my home base. And as a young musician, it gave me something tangible to learn, and that's what I started cutting my teeth on when I was learning to play guitar. Was, you know, all of these great punk rock songs, and of course that led to the desire to start a band, and, you know, it all rolled from there.
Absolutely, man. All right, so I really appreciate you calling. I'm really excited about the release. I hope when you guys figure out what's up next, you give us another call, let us know what's going on, maybe come on again. And also, is there any advice maybe you'd want to give before we get out of here and play a selective service? Is there any advice maybe you'd want to give to a young kid trying to start a band?
Yeah, you've got to love what you're doing before you can give a shit about what anybody else thinks about it. So if you're going to start a band, make sure that whatever you're doing, you feel really passionate about. Don't do it just because you want other people to like it, or you want to feel accepted by other people. That's not what this movement is about. That's not what this music is about. You've got to identify with it, you know, on whatever level, and just tap into that and let it flow through you, you know, and stay passionate about it. Find other people that are just as passionate as you are, and have the drive to do it. And in this world, in today's day and age with technology, literally anything is possible. You can get that music out there, and have it influence other people that love this music as well.
Yeah, man, well put. I'm real glad you guys are back at it. Real glad you gave us a call. Hope to talk to you again, man. Thanks for calling in.
No problem, man. I look forward to talking to you again in the near future.
Great, dude. I'll shoot you a text in a little bit, all right?
Sounds good. Have a good one, man.
You too. All right, guys. Big thanks to Jason for coming on, and we're going to get to him and their Punkcore release. Another track coming off Our Rebellion has just begun. Here's the Havoc with Selective Services.